Hi everyone, this is Mary, you're in Mary Reads. Welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to tell you about the best books so far of 2024. I have like 12 best books, but I decided to only take those that I'm still thinking about, that made me so emotional in one way or the other, that I still think about them, that I still talk about, that I still recommend to people. Because, for example, Brideshead Revisited, I really enjoyed, but now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I need to reread this part, I need to reread that part. I just think that I didn't understand them well. And I started forgetting these parts, so I need to kind of refresh the memory. So I decided not to put it in this video because I want to put only those books that I continuously think about, that I want to reread, not because I forgot something, but because I want to experience the same feeling one more time. And the first book that I'm gonna add today is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. I read this book for the first time like 10 years ago, maybe 12. And I didn't remember anything about the book except like the main story that 10 people get on the island and one after the other they start dying. Nobody knows how and nobody knows who is doing that. So I reread this book, I think in May probably, and I talked about it in one of my marathons because it was a 24-hour reading marathon. So yeah, that's where I talked about it. And I liked it so much. I've been telling my husband to read this book since May. And I keep like pushing it into his face saying, you have to read this book. You have to tell me what you think about it. We have to discuss it. This is such a nice mystery. I'm not gonna tell more about it because I have like a more full review in my vlog, so you can watch that if you haven't yet. But let me just say that it's so great. The mystery is so good and it's actually chilling. It's actually terrifying. I think it's one of those rare mysteries where just this human violence, like a person's violence, is just so scary. It's not just that like, oh, he went and killed out of revenge or something. This is carefully thought through. This has been prepared very well for. The person was thinking through all the different details for so long. He made like a full game out of it. This is just bringing additional level of terrifyingness. It's just so good, so mysterious, and I don't think you will be able to figure out who the murderer is. You can try and you can guess, but I don't think you're going to be able to explain everything well enough. The next book was my first encounter with the Japanese literature, and I don't even know if I understood the book fully. I don't know if I got all the meanings, but No Longer Human just took my heart with it, and I loved it so much. It's just a story of one person's life, and he's not like most of people are. He doesn't get happy from eating something very tasty. He doesn't really enjoy like running around with friends, meeting with them at a bar and spending time with them. He's just asking so many questions about this life. Like, why do we even eat? My parents tell me that I'm hungry when I come back from school and I eat because I want to please them, but why do I actually eat? Do I really want to, or am I just doing this to please them? Why do people like find jobs and earn money? Why do they get married? And he goes through his life asking all those questions, and this just makes everything look so different. It makes me look at life very differently. I started asking those questions like, okay, do I actually want to like eat right now, or do I eat because at 1 o'clock in the afternoon everybody has lunch? So it's a minor example, but this is just how we don't even think through these small basic things that we do automatically. This book kind of makes you think about it, makes you ask yourself questions. Do I actually need to do this? Or is this just something that everybody is doing, so I'm doing it too. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was reading this book in a marathon, 3 books in 3 days. So you can again watch more about this book there. But this is definitely my recommendation. I don't know a lot of other Japanese authors, so I can't really compare. But I loved it. I loved how we were just thinking, we were just looking at things that everybody thinks are normal, but we start questioning these things. I just like how Asian literature is more about asking questions, thinking. There's not that much action, but you don't even need this action. That's something that really draws me to Asian literature, and this book is a great example. The next book is like a thriller, drama, mystery, and it's Gone Girl. And again, once again, I talked about this book in one of my reading vlogs. I think it was when we went to Vermont to see the solar eclipse. I was reading this book. I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. It's very similar to the movie. So if you watch the movie, you're not going to get a lot of new details. I just feel like the book is giving a better structure. You have chapters written from a point of view of the wife who disappears and the husband who is trying to find her. And you see their feelings much better because the chapters from the wife's point of view are her diaries. So you better understand her feelings. She's more open in a diary. It's easier to show it through the book than through a movie. And it's also easier to understand the characters' thoughts through these like very personal objects like a diary, or like their dialogue with a sister, or their thoughts. So I just feel like the book gives a better description of all the feelings, of all the thoughts. And this is just so good. So good. A little creepy because of how crazy one of the characters is, but so good. The next book, or rather series of books, I don't have a copy of, but I'm just gonna say it very, very quickly. I don't want to stop at that. You know the series, I know the series, we all read the series, we all watched the movies, but I think it's just worth mentioning as one of the books that I loved this year, and it's Harry Potter series. What I really like is that as a kid, you read it as a fairy tale, you look at magic, you look at this school of magic and the spells and the wands, and it's just the atmosphere and the adventures. When you grow up, you start looking at some bigger issues like politics, like interpersonal relationships, like questions of evil and good, because evil also has some sort of a motivation. It's not just evil because I just want to be evil. This evil is based on some ideas and beliefs, and the book is just so much deeper than what we see it as kids. And I loved rereading Harry Potter 8 years after I read it previously, and just seeing those details that I never noticed before. And I can't wait to read this book when I'm like 30 and see if I can find any other interesting ideas that I didn't notice when I was reading it when I was 24. The next book I've also been talking about quite some time. It's Senlin Ascends. I still haven't read the second and the third books, which is a bummer, and I'm really, really hoping that I will be able to read them soon. But the first book was so great. I love the idea of this Babel Tower that's so huge and that attracts so much attention that people get lost there. People just never find each other again. They can wait at the same spot for days and weeks and months, but they still are not going to be able to find their loved ones because there's so many people there that it's just impossible. And then our main character starts climbing the tower to find his wife, and each level of this tower is like a new, different world. It's separate from anything else. And like the first floor is so different from the second one that it feels like it's a completely different country. It's like you traveled, not just like you went up a flight of stairs. It's like you traveled to a different country. Everything is so different. People are different. Culture is different. It's just such a great book. I think if you like adventure, this is really the series to look at. The next book is another Agatha Christie's mystery, and it's Death on the Nile. I watched the movie before I read a book, and I was so surprised that the book was different. A lot of characters were changed for the movie. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't think the plot would change as much, but still, just the fact. The mystery was so great. And I also like when the mystery happens in an enclosed space, in an enclosed environment. And this is what happened here. Everybody was on a boat. They were going down the Nile River. And it just adds this interesting flavor to the story because you feel like you trust all the characters, but you know that one of them is the murderer and you can't trust him. So I really, really enjoyed the book. I'm not going to stop on it for a long time because I think everybody watched the movies. A lot of you read the book. I just wanted to say that it's so great that if you haven't yet, you really should try looking into Death on the Nile. And the last book I want to tell you about today is Wuthering Heights. Oh, this book made me so angry and so happy and so sad. And it's just the sheer amount of emotions that it gave me just deserves 5 stars. And I was so angry in so many times. And I thought that I hate this book. But then I realized that I just hate the character in the book. And I can't say that the book is bad. It's actually so good that it made me feel so much. I felt so much anger to this one character that is not even a real person, that the story just came to life. The story just felt so real. And it's such a chaotic story. It feels like we're in this place between heaven and hell, and we're not living, but at the same time we're not dying, and it's this constant gray area where you just exist. And it feels like time stops at this place. Time stops at Wuthering Heights, and there is nothing you can do. And you're trying to get a breath of fresh air, but you just can't. It's just so suffocating. The environment is so suffocating that you just can't get out of there. And I think a very big thing here was that our main setting is Wuthering Heights, and then another estate that I forgot the name of. So we have these 2 places, and that's it. It's like the world outside of these 2 estates doesn't exist. It feels like we just have these 2 families, and that's all. Then there is nothing else. And the whole world is just a completely unnecessary place. We just stay in the same place for the story goes through 20 years. So we stay there through these 20 years. And I just don't even know what to say about this book. I feel like you have to read and decide on your own how to see it as a love story or as this just horror story. I feel like people have these 2 very different opinions, and you have to read the book to decide what you think about it. These were all the books that I gave 10 stars this year so far. Again, I had more, but compared to these 7, they just weren't that good. They weren't as strong, or they didn't leave as much after themselves. And it doesn't mean that they are worse, really. It just, for me personally, they were not as worth remembering as these 7. Let me know what your favorite books this year were. If you have any 5-star reads, or if you have 1-star reads, because I was going through those as well, and I have quite a bunch of 1-star books as well. So let me know if you had 1-star books too. Thank you for being with me today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.